Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Sunday chat today will be, I'll let you know when we get there because I'm making it up as I go along. Oh, you noticed? Things going on then. I've taken the plunge. I know this is not relevant to everybody, but it's relevant to me and what I get up to, and it could have a knock-on effect on the orchid videos. I need to get my bonsai staging done, and I took the bull by the horns. There's a company on eBay that sells the timber that I wanted to make the top of the staging. Now this all started off by getting a pile of bricks when I went to visit my son. Those bricks will become the support for the timber on the top to plonk the bonsai on. It's very, very simple shelving effectively. Yeah, so company on eBay was selling the size timber that I want, which is 6x2, and it came in 2.4 or 4.8 metre lengths, which won't go in the car. And basically I don't want the shelving that long. With timber that size it would be too heavy, if you see what I mean, once it's put together. So, oh hello, here comes trouble, possibly. What are you doing then? You're going to sit there and stare. Yeah. Cats love walking up to a door and looking at you as if to say, well come on then, open the door, and you open the door and they turn and walk away. I don't know what he's going to do now. He might come out, he might not. Right, so anyway, I phoned them up because they're not far away, and I said, you've got some timber for sale on eBay, is it okay if I just come and get some and pay you for it? Yeah, no problem. Well, when were you thinking of coming? I said, well, later today. He said, well, what exactly do you want? I said, well, I want... The problem I've got is I need to get it in the car. And what I want is 4 bits of 1.2. So, you know, that's like a 2.4 cut in half twice. Will I be able to cut it when I get there? Oh, well, it's alright, we'll cut it for you. You tell us what you want, we'll do it for you. And then in the next breath they said, well, where do you live? I said, well, just the other side of the ring. Oh, we'll deliver it. So anyway, this company cut the timber to size and delivered it and carried it in to the carport for free. And then on top of that, I don't know whether something's gone wrong, but this is what happened. On eBay, those pieces of 2x4 were £14 each, and I had 2, both cut in half, so I was expecting to pay £28. And when the invoice came through, it was 18. So I got my timber for £18, which is flipping excellent. I mean, that's pressure treated, you know, good timber. So anyway, I will be doing some bonsai shelving during the week, which will be out in the carport. I will probably film some of it, and that will go on the bonsai channel. Right, the garden. Now, not everybody's interested in my garden, but part and parcel of getting the bonsai shelving done is the garden is growing like mad. A lot of that is because I keep going round with the hose and watering it all, but I've got new plants in the garden. If I don't water them in this heat we've had, which is now gone, thank goodness, then they would have died. You know, that's the choices you get. But anyway, only a few things have gone, most things have taken, and we've lost the heat now. It's actually 20 degrees in the house. I have to go and put a jumper on. It's funny how you acclimatise, or I do, I acclimatise to the heat and accepted it as normal. So now it actually feels quite cold. It is 22 in here at the moment. Very comfortable. I mean, the fans are off at the moment because I'm filming, obviously. So anyway, in part and parcel, last time Hannah was down, because she loves doing it on the garden, she got down on her hands and knees to clear out all the cracks in the paving so that I could actually put a chemical on there that will stop anything growing for quite a long time, and it's worked. There's not a sign, there's not a blade of grass or anything showing in those cracks. But it upset me a little bit to see somebody on their hands and knees doing something like that. I couldn't do it. I'd either mess my knees up or my back or both. So thanks for doing it. And then I thought, there's still a lot to do. And she'll get down there and do it next time she comes, which is in a fortnight's time, because she'll want it finished. And I thought, what can we do? So I will go and get it. I've got a gadget. Something I should have got before. We've got a strimmer, and it's an edging tool as well, so it will strim flat like that or like that, which means I can turn it on its edge and just go along those cracks and literally just plough all those weeds out and bits of grass. So I got that. And then in turn I'll be able to go round the edges where the ivy's starting to grow out and cut that off neatly as well. So an edging strimmer tool to tidy up the patio. Because basically the weeds are growing everywhere up through the cracks. Some of them are in flower now, they're this tall. And you know, it's never going to look tidy with weeds growing out all the cracks. So Mojo wailing again, as he does. It's a habit. Don't think he's in pain or anything like that, it's become a habit. If he goes out and has something to eat, he turns round, walks to the kitchen door and yowls. There's no reason for it at all. And the only way I can stop him is to go and distract him. Like, you know, go and talk to him or whatever. And then if he decides to go upstairs, he'll stop third stair from the top and yowl again. And then when he goes in the bedroom and decides where he's going to stay, he'll yowl again. It's a habit. And I can't be there to distract him all the time, so I'm not in a position really to do anything about it. Oh, are you coming out? Come on then. Oops. Not shelving over. But he is spending quite a bit more time outside now, which is nice. He does actually go and sit in the sun sometimes. Anyway, so when I get that tool put, that's a next week job, is to get some of the bonsai staging done and have a go with that tool and get this patio area all tidied up. I've got a load of bags to go up the tip. I'll be adding more, obviously, once I've trimmed these weeds and the edging. That's all got to be swept up and bagged. That's the bit where, you know, I have to watch my back, because you have, you know, bending down to pick it up and put it in the bags, even though I've got my bag holder thing. And it's basically, if I'm going to do the garden and keep the garden tidy, I need the tools for the job. And another thing, now that I've got a gardening space with plants in it, what else do you get? Weeds. I'm now going to have to start weeding that part, otherwise they'll take over, because they always seem to grow better than your own plants that you put in there. You know, you put one plant and look after it very carefully, and 5 weeds come up round it and totally take off. So anyway, work to do outside. With the garden stuff, I will have a quick whip round with the video before I start, and I'll keep that clip to one side, because at the beginning of each month I said I'd do a garden update. Well, the garden update will be after I've done the work, and I'll put the clip of what it was like before on the front of it, so you get a direct comparison. But that's possibly the end of the week, or towards the end of the week. Next weekend, Saturday, is Orchid Society meeting. Otherwise Hannah would have been down on that weekend, and she'll be down the following weekend, and hopefully we'll have a go at some of the stuff where I need to perhaps get up on steps and I need somebody stood on the bottom so they don't fall over with me on the top of them. So we'll have a go at some other stuff. Because Hannah likes to have the only thing that will stop us doing stuff outside really is if it rains, which would be just typical. Right, in here, the heater is just off basically, no need. I'm getting night temperatures of 18, 19 degrees, or 21, 22 back when it was, you know, that warm. So heater's not on. I'm running the oscillating fan and the stationary fan and the air cleaner when it's warm, which today, well, unless the sun comes out, I'm only going to get up 22, 23 degrees in here, so I just need a gentle air movement. I'm not trying to cool the leaves down, so we're doing okay. Friday will obviously be our Project Orchid video, which is, I think we're up to number 6 now. Now watering, I watered everything yesterday, flush, because I had the RO unit on, I had some nice fresh water. A few things have come up. Things that were not growing are now growing. So although I'm not too keen on the look of this on this mount, we've got new growths in many places. So this is coming back into growth. It's not a massive new growth, but there is some there. So it's coming back into growth. That one is. What else? I don't want to show too many plants because obviously they form part of updates, but what else did I find when I was watering? Oh, we've identified the 3 odonts. They go together, they all got repotted together and they've now got tags. This one, these are Odontocidiums. They once were Wilsonaras, I think, but something else has changed names in the meantime. And I was waiting for the 2 similar ones to come into bloom to identify tiger tail. This is tiger tail, and it's easily identified by the fact it only has 1 red mark on the lip. No other blotches or anything. The lip is plain apart from that red shape just below the frilly bit. The patterning varies from bloom to bloom and probably from plant to plant. But if that one is tiger tail, because of the lip, it's the lip that identifies that. Now when I show you the other one, you can see why it isn't. And this is the other one. And look at the lip on that one. Lots of blotching and dots and edging. It's quite different. So this hasn't got a name. This is, I called it an Odontocidium hybrid. It's very similar to tiger tail, and it may even be related. But so having identified those 2, then the other one that's currently not in bloom, which I can get at just about, I think, without knocking everything over. This is the 3rd one in the set. As I said, they all got repotted together. And this is a Zelenkocidium, Calico Gem, not currently in bloom. And it's quite different to the other 2 because this one has purpley odont type flowers, not yellow and red. So quite different. But they go as a set together. It's purely because they have a similar look, similar size, and they got repotted together. So their updates will come together. But finally, those have got labels on. We're getting there. There's not much that's not identified now. We're sort of getting there. There is a dendrobium up the back where the kikis are now over 1 foot long and they have roots. They're coming off. And what I'm going to do with it, the cane that they are on, I'm going to cut off completely. Because it sort of went a bit wrong. It grew a lot bigger than the rest of the plant. And obviously some things affected it quite badly because, you know, it's covered in kikis and not blooms. So, yeah, there will be kikis. Another one of my, is it a nobly type? Yes, I think it is. Also has a nice big kiki, only one on it, that's just getting some roots. And there are a couple of other dendrobiums with kikis on. So there will be a box of kikis to go to Carol as a sort of thank you for the plants for the garden. I mean, Carol had quite a lot of my plants in the past, but she bought those, I believe, from a distant memory. You know, and as helping support the channel and everything, she sent some garden plants over, you know, which is good. And I will return the favour really by sending some kikis over, because Carol doesn't mind growing things on, you know. So, what are you doing? You coming in there? Come on then. There we go. So that's to come, but I'm not in a hurry to do that. That will be as and when, and with arrangements as well. By arrangement. That last progress updates I did, 2 plants were wrong, actually incorrectly identified. What's all the noise? Don't need the noise. Strange cat. Yes, all the cattleyas now have new growths. They're all coming back into growth, and there's a few more to come out of holy clay pots and go in ordinary pots. Hopefully without knocking the new growths off this time. Duh, I haven't done that for ages. I know exactly how it happened though, you know, I was grabbing hold of the whole plant to pull it out of the pot. I put my hand round where the new growth was. So, easily done if you're repotting. Take care, you only do it once. Do it carefully, and I was not taking care, so that's how it happened. No orchid shows to go to now, they're all over and done with until the Orchid Society shows come round again. So there isn't, unless I buy online, which I'm not so happy with nowadays. I do like to actually go and see a plant and pick it up and look it over before I sort of part with my money. And that opportunity is only at orchid shows or by visiting a nursery. Most of the nurseries in this country, apart from Burnham's, are specialist nurseries. So you go to this nursery and it's nearly all Paphiopedilums, or you go to this nursery and it's nearly all Phalaenopsis. You see, so, and that wouldn't interest me anywhere near as much as a trip to Burnham's, where you've got the variety. You've got the bought-in stuff in the sales area, and then you've got the nursery, which is their own stuff that they grow and divide and, you know, and even grow from seed in some cases. I must check with Sarah to find out if she actually does that on site or does she send them off. Because there are places where you can send your seed and they will send the flasks back. So once they've actually planted them up, germinated them and then separated them out into their flasks, they send them back to you. It's not a free service, but it saves you having all the lab equipment and the sterilisation gadgets and stuff. So I'll have to check. I don't know whether she's got all that somewhere. If she has got all that stuff, I don't know where it's hidden away because I haven't seen it. So probably not. Up here on the shelf, the Shari Baby is now in flower. Not very fragrant because the sun's not round. And it's pushed up another spike. And while I was looking, watering, yet another one. So that's actually got 3 successive spikes. So that's going to be in bloom a nice long time now. And another one. This was in bloom when I got it, and hasn't bloomed since. But you know, it's been repotted now, and it's coming on. And while I was watering, I noticed a spike. And then I looked again, and I thought, actually, there's 2. And then I looked again. The more you look, the more you see. So this is actually Bretonia Shelob Tolkien, so a Brassia-like orchid. These will be the only Brassia type blooms this year, because my other 2 actual Brassias are growing on. They'll be for blooming next year. So anyway, new growth here, spike, and another one. New growth here, spike, and hiding behind that leaf, another one. So there's 4 spikes coming on here. That's going to look good. And these new growths are just pushing out their new roots now. So that was repotted at a nice ideal time to get these new roots into the new media and push on the health and strength of the plant. Notice it was pushed right back, all the old part of the plant back against the back of the pot, leaving room for new growths. And we are getting a reward of 4 spikes, so that's good. These are my first spikes on this plant. As I said, it was in bloom when I got it, and the blooms were going over at that point, so they didn't last long. I have had Shelob Tolkien before, that's not the first one. But the other one went, actually the other one went to Carol, I believe. Got taken off a mount and put in a pot. Didn't grow very well in the pot, it was going downhill, so I put it on a mount and it went, you know, flat. It did next to nothing for quite a long time. So it was one of the ones that I got rid of in the last clear out. So yeah, so there is stuff coming on now. I don't think we'll see any Cattleya blooms for some considerable time. Those new growths have got to mature and everything first, so they're a way off. And most Cattleyas are annual. Now the red one hasn't long been out of bloom, that's the one we took out of the holy clay pot. The apple blossom not too long ago, and nothing else really is in a position to bloom, although there are some more recent acquisitions that should bloom on the latest growth when it matures. So we might get some Cattleya blooms. Dendrobiums very thin on the ground this time of year. Most of those are spring bloomers, and they've done their thing. Those that did, a lot didn't this year. Yeah, so things are coming on a bit better out here than they have been, but we're looking at new growths on dendrobiums in June, and that should be in April. So they are a long way behind, unfortunately. And the only thing I think I can possibly do next year is to gather those, because a fair few of them are mounts for a start, is to gather the plants together in some shape or form and try and induce spring by actually getting the grow lights out. I've still got them all, as we did have them going in the other place quite a few years ago now. Tried it, didn't like it, had wires all over the place. But just set up one area and actually try grow lights and try and induce spring. Start extending the day length, possibly from about the beginning of March, and extend the day length to make the plants think it's spring earlier than it actually is. Now that will have to, once that is up and running and the day lengths are sort of being extended on a regular basis and everything, and we're heading up to artificially getting them up to that 11-hour period, the heating will have to come up as well. Because obviously if I'm trying to make the plants think it's spring, the two triggers are longer day lengths, more light, and a rise in temperature. Those are the triggers on most of the, those types. So we may do that next spring. That's an idea that is there for me to think about and worry about the cost, of course, as always. There's always a downside to everything, isn't there? Anyway, my cooler growers, Masdevallias, I haven't got any Draculas anymore, and Restrepias and Miltoniopsis are doing fine. They are now growing well enough that I've stopped worrying about them. There is one Miltoniopsis that's very unhappy, but it's recovering. It has got some new growths. Whether it has enough strength to enable those to grow and start some new roots, I don't know. So a lot of things are now doing okay, but we are down. I've gone from 180 to 140. That's 40 plants have gone missing. Most of those went in the bin, literally. So it's quite a drop, quite a loss. But we will gradually pick up the actual number by, again, sticking to that which seems to be growing. So I will probably try and get some more Draculas. With the Orchid Society meeting coming up this Saturday, I'm going to have a chat with Lynn and see if we can do some deals. Because she must have lots of plants that she split. And so she's got multiples. Now I don't mind buying them, I don't want gifts sort of thing. But yeah, and she'll also, if I say the sort of thing I like, she'll say, well you'll like that one and that one then. So, I don't have to do all the research and everything. She'll know the ones that are easier to grow than some others, because she's got some real difficult stuff that she manages to push on. Yeah, so you know, things start doing well, you get more of them. I'm thinking about getting perhaps a couple more Paphiopedilums. The 3 I've got, one's new, that was from the last Orchid Society meeting. It was one of Alan's plants. I didn't realise that at the time, but it was one of Alan's, and there's multiple growths in a pot. I've got the one from Wisley that I got earlier in the year, which is a single fan. It's got a nice new growth coming. And then we've got the Blackjack that seems to have multiple growths and now a pot full of roots. So they didn't do well in my other place. Well, the 3 I've got seem to be okay. So perhaps another 1 or 2 of those. So I can fill in some of the gaps to recover from the losses. But what I'm not going to do is get more of the things that I lost. There's no point. If they're not going to do well, and I mean there's some of the dendrobiums here are going to struggle forevermore. Lack of temperatures to get them going in the spring, and therefore a short growing season leads to weakness, because canes will not mature to their full size in the shorter growing season. Now I can extend the growing season at the other end. Another thought, we could actually get the lights out in the autumn and try and keep stuff going. You know, later in the year, give them another month of growing that they lost at the beginning of the season. A thought. But another thing that was really nice when I looked at it, my awarded plant, the Dendrobium Friedrichianum Hanna, that I thought I'd lost, apart from a couple of kikis that I took off that are growing separately, and they're okay, so I haven't totally lost the plant. The actual mother plant is pushing out new growths in June. Should be in March, April time. But it's not dead, that's the main thing. It is pushing out some new growths. And that's another one that's on a mount that doesn't seem happy on that mount. Something about the moss. When I switched to using live moss, that was native moss collected from, well, just up the road, from, you know, forests and things like that. And not many plants did well with it. And a lot of it was because it died, because of the drier in winter. Well, the moss dies, doesn't it? And then the roots are in dead moss. That's not the same thing. And it's not the same as the New Zealand moss, which is dead. That's a different principle altogether. So I might have to take the bull by the horns and unmount that Friedrichianum and get it in a pot like I've done with some of the others. I mean, behind me, this is a classic example. This has been on a mount ever since I got it. This is Virgo Blossom. If I can get it down, come on, it's heavy as well. It's got a huge rock in the bottom of the pot. And it stopped growing on the mount. Now, it has bloomed. We've had some nice blooms on it. We've still got buds coming, so it's going to carry on blooming for a while yet. But it didn't grow last year. I had no new canes. So what I haven't got is lots of leaves. So it's having trouble feeding itself. But having put it in a pot with some moss, I've got new growths coming from the base. Not many, but some is better than none, which is what we had last year. So there are some little tiny new growths starting. And that's what we need. We need to get things back into growth. Now, I had an exercise. I went out in the shed and got me black pots in. I thought, right, that's it. Let's do this once and for all. So all the clear pots are now in a black pot. There is a problem with that size pot. My normal size saucer, large, is that big. And they don't quite fit. They do that sort of thing. Yeah? So it's not ideal, and it leads to me knocking things over quite frequently. But go to the next size up, they fit in there nicely. So I've just ordered 20 of those, because my wide shallow pots, that's the only black pot they'll fit in, and they're large, so I need a large tray. So I've ordered 20 of those. That's far too many for what's in here. But what's outside is going to have to come back in, isn't it? So Cymbidium pots. So we've got some of those coming. On order, should get here middle of next week. something like that. And another one, again you probably won't be able to see this because it's in this giant, tucked inside this giant black pot. So all the trays are full of water where I watered yesterday. This is my Lindley. Again, it didn't grow. Well, it's been in a pot a relatively short while, and when I was watering yesterday, I'm sure that somewhere, there, you probably won't be able to see it because it's behind leaves, but down in that gap between my fingers is a lovely strong new growth. It's the only one at the moment, but it's coming back into growth. So we've got some things going on. As I said, it's been quite troubling to lose that many plants, including some that were pretty special. But we're getting there. Let me just turn that round, because if I keep backing into it, I'm going to eventually get something hooked and pull it off the shelf or something daft. Right. Other things that seem to be growing better now. Cotyledons, yeah? Well, I've got 4, including 2 that are almost identical. Mistake on my part. I saw a nice one at Burnham's, the blooms were on it and everything, and I thought, well, we've got to go home with something, I'll buy that one. And then when I got home, I realised I already had it. But it is a different variety. It's a variety of the species, and the other one is just the species, so very similar. You wouldn't notice the difference, really. So yes, there are some, my Restrepias, they're all growing really well. And there's not a bloom on any of them at the moment, but there are an awful lot of new growths. So, some things are doing okay. And others are still struggling, but at least they're trying. It's difficult to explain. You've got these were a couple of kikis. This is the tortilli. And the main plant, quite honestly, is not happy. I mean, this cane has buckled, so that's going to die. But what the plant has done is pushed out loads of kikis. They only had 2 blooms this year, but there's no growth from the base of the plants. Looks like there might be one, oh no, that's a root. But it's not happy. And again, it's on a mount with native species moss. And a lot of them are not doing well as a consequence. So we will probably methodically sort of go through everything that's got that sort of moss on it and remove it. If you take, so this is an example, this is my phyllum, primulinium, a phyllum. That was put on with live moss, and the live moss is still alive in places, and we do have growth from the base. But we also had a load of kikis, and we've still got some. We've got one here, another one down here. They're all growing nice roots, one on the end. And this was a kiki planted last year that's coming into growth. These were kikis over here. They're coming into growth. The main plant over here has got some growth on it, but it's not doing as well as it could do. What did we do with the kikis? We planted those up separately in the zombie moss. Notice the difference. Look at the strength of those plants pushing on. Look at the coloration of the leaves and the size of the leaves. These are doing well. And they're in the old zombie moss. I've returned back to something that I stopped using. And in this environment, it seems to be doing the trick. You take this cattleya here. That's been sat on that mount for nearly 2 years now. What have we got? A root tip. And you can see the size that the canes once were, and those are the 2 previous growths. That's over a year ago, and it's done nothing. It's in this native live moss on the mount, and it's not working. So, like I say, if If stuff's not working and you carry on doing the same thing, it isn't going to suddenly get better, is it? Things don't work, you need to change stuff. I've said it often enough, I keep telling you lot to think like that, and in some cases I'm not doing it myself. So there's an element of distraction, I think, is part of it. You know, things have been going on over the past months and stuff, and I'm not just looking after orchids at this place. I also have to look after the place a lot better than I used to with the other one, because somebody visits with a camera and takes pictures of it, and I'm wary of that. I've now got a garden that's a distraction. I'm having, well, most of the time I'm having to water that every day. I've revisited my bonsai as a subject. I haven't got loads more trees, but I've got enough that there is a distraction from the orchids. It doesn't mean I'm not doing the orchids, but I have got other things to do as well. That's the way it is in the Orchid Society. I did the archery course with the intention of taking up a hobby that would get me out. I've changed my mind because it's an outdoor sport and you pay for the year. Well, it's a third of the year when it's going to be raining or freezing cold or something, blowing a gale. You know, it's an outdoor thing, so there's going to be a third of the year that you've paid for and you don't go. So I've changed my mind. I'm not going to take up the archery. If it was if it was on that school playing field and I could walk there, I might do it. But the fact that it's a reasonable drive away, I don't think I will. It's expense as well. I mean, it was quite expensive to join the club. You then have to join the national body so that you're covered with insurance and everything. And they will only hire you some kit to use for a short period of time. Then you've got to buy your own. So it's quite an outlay. So I just thought, well, I enjoyed the course, let's just leave it at that. We won't be doing that. So, and also that would have been another distraction. You know, I'd have been looking at weather thinking, oh, it's nice, I think I'll go up and, you know, shoot some arrows. So, you know, and then when I do that, I'm not doing anything here, am I? So, you know, there's other things taking up some of my time, and all it comes down to is time management, which I haven't had to do for many years, and it's not coming as a shock, but it does take a little more effort to do it, instead of just, oh, I'm not going to do anything today. Well, there shouldn't be many days like that where you don't do anything. You must have something to do, even if it's just put some washing on because your clothes are all dirty. There should be something each day, so we will try and buck up a bit and put a bit more effort into all of the activities so that this activity in here remains constant and doesn't suffer. That's all it needs. It's just for me to concentrate a bit. So still some repotting to do. Not a huge amount, but there's still some to do. And then we've got some mounts to sort out. Either remount them with the New Zealand moss or put them in a pot, you know, whatever. So there's still some work to do out here. So we will get on bit by bit. And as I watered yesterday, I just used, because I was flushing, I had clean water in the bowl, I was just using my thumb and finger to wipe a lot of the what appears to be mould coming on the leaves. And I'm reasonably certain that it is that by the plants that have got the most are the ones the farthest away from the fan. So that corner up there, you know, fan there, opposite corner, blue corner, red corner, all that sort of stuff. Things on lower shelves where the airflow's going over the top of them. So this little air cleaner is another form of air movement. That's why it's right over on this corner, because it sucks air in the bottom and blows it out the top. So there's a blast of air coming up that then hits the roof and spreads. And the blast of air that's coming out of there is clean. It's been through the filter, it's been through the UV light, it's clean air. And anything that goes in the bottom that's living in any shape or form shouldn't come out the top. That's the theory. It remains. I suppose I better clean the filter at some point as well. Anyway, so stuff coming up. Yeah, I've outlined most of that. In amongst that will be other things like, you know, sorting out some mounts, some repots. I don't think we're going to be doing much on the new orchid front, but that will depend on that conversation with Lynn. And yeah, we'll see how that goes, and possibly Alan, because I know Alan's split up loads and loads of plants and he is well out of space. He's now got layers so deep that I don't think he can handle some of his plants without a lot of effort. All he can do is poke the sprayer in there. Can't get at a lot of them. He's just got so many plants, they grow so well for him, which is good, they end up getting split. So I might have a word with him and see what sort of sparesies he's got as well. Not going mad, but you know, I have room for some more plants. We'll see how we go. Right, I didn't do a genus today. I'll get back to that. As I said, most of them are interesting ones we've already done. But in amongst these plant updates that I've started doing, progress updates I think I've called them, and I've set up a playlist. I've only done one and it seemed quite popular, so I will do more. Now, Derek's plants, including the story of why they're called Derek's plants, are all these little ones down here on that shelf, which you can't see because the camera's too high. But there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, there's 10 or 11 of those. Some of those are quite rare crosses as well. A couple of species and quite a few with no tags at all, and I don't know what they are. They were all in a really bad state and they're coming on. They all got repotted together not that long ago. I did every single one. And that would make an update on its own, because those are like a separate group, so we could do those. The Cymbidiums, a progress report on those. Bearing in mind there's only one in here, all the others are outside. They get the hose on them as I walk past. And continually using the hose means they're not getting fed. So what I've done is I've chucked a handful of the bonsai feed, which is a slow release pellets. So they've got a handful of those around the top of the pot, so that at least they are getting some food. Probably not as much as they could do with, but better than nothing. Right, so that will do for today. And as usual on the Sunday we do the thank yous. I'd like to thank you all. Right, that's that done. No, it is important, I believe, to thank the people that support the channel. Not on every single video, I think that's way over the top. Now some people say that somewhere in every video there should be a reminder to people to subscribe and hit the old thumbs up, because people forget. And I agree, but you know, the beginning of each of my videos, or most of them, there's a big arrow, subscribe here, you know, and at the end I think it says, you know, don't get the thumbs up and stuff like that. So, you know, there's sort of, you know, a gentle reminder in there, but I don't like going mad with it all. You know, you get a 5-minute video and 2 minutes is telling everybody to subscribe and stuff, you know, it's a bit over the top, but nonetheless, I mean, I've just run the payments off the Patreon site, so thanks to the patrons that contributed to that. Also the YouTube money comes across near the end of the month, so that's a while back. And that's partly contributed to by the members who've joined the channel. We've had a few buy me a coffees as time's gone by, and a few, I think they're called super chats, where somebody leaves a comment and a donation at the same time. I haven't quite worked out how that happens, but they show in the comments, you know, with a sort of bright banner, so they really stick out when you're looking through the comments, so that's nice. And again, people leave comments, people watch, and some people that's all they can manage, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. you know, the way YouTube works nowadays, it's geared up to the viewer. So if a viewer gets presented with some of my videos and they take the opportunity to watch them, that's what YouTube likes. That helps promote the channel. So if you are watching somebody else's videos and one of mine is down the side that you haven't seen and you select it, it's a boost for the channel. If you go straight to my channel or you've had a notification and you watch a video, again, it all helps the channel. YouTube works quite differently nowadays. So anyway, I've got to get this processed, and it's starting to get a bit noisy outside, so yeah, I am a trifle worried about next door moving out, because I get on okay with them. They are good neighbours to have, because most of the time I don't know they're there. That's good, yeah, especially as we've got a whole shared area out the front and everything. But chatting to the guy out there, nobody's even shown any interest in it yet. And things can go wrong with house buying in this country. He's put it on the market with no onward chain, for whatever reasons, his own personal business. But nonetheless, if somebody puts an offer in that's accepted, that it's dependent on them selling their house and their buyer drops out, the whole chain collapses right up to the top. And it's highly likely his would always be the top of the chain because it hasn't got an onward chain. But he is dependent on the chain below, and those chains nowadays can get quite long. You know, there's whatever, £400,000 house, somebody's going up a grade from 300,000, and you know, you come down and right at the bottom of the chain is somebody selling a one-bedroom flat. Anywhere on that chain, somebody drops out, the chain's broken. So it is quite difficult. And at the moment, people are not putting their houses on the market. People are not buying because they can't get their mortgage. The interest rates have soared. Mortgages are now not so easy to get. So nothing much is happening. So we could, even if you got an offer accepted tomorrow, it's still going to take 3 or 4 months because of all the processes that have to be done. And you know, that's if everything goes fine. So he could still be here in a year's time. It might end up being so bad and, you know, whatever, that they just end up staying there, I don't know. It is a trifle worrying when you're about to get new neighbours when you have shared areas. You know, this is not a self-contained property. It has a shared front, you know, the shared entrance and security system and everything. So anyway, we've had a look at some plants, we've had a chat about things coming up outside on the bonsai front and the garden front. And as I said with the garden, I'll do a quick video of before and put the clip to one side so that it can go on the front of the next garden update, which will be after at least some of the work's been done, if not all of it. Well, all of the bits that I can do on my own anyway. And we'll go from there. And orchid stuff is just routine maintenance and the odd, the odd new bloom that comes out. You know, they do happen. A bit thin on the ground, but you know, we do have some new blooms here and there, and more to come. So I think the next new bloom that will open will be the radiata, because the 3 spikes on there. Then you get a spike with buds alongside the spike that develop, and when those buds do that, and then start showing some colour, you know you're getting there. You can go soon. So there are some soon to come. So we shall see. And yeah, thanks for dropping by, and thanks again to all the forms of support for the channel. Whether it is just the watching, the comments, the thumbs up, the monetary contributions in whatever shape or form, thanks to everybody who supports the channel. It keeps the channel going. As I said, there is an expenditure that's over and above what I can actually afford, and I had 2 choices. I either took a smaller place with a much reduced rent and had to sort of try and accommodate some orchids in the house somewhere, but not have this grow room, that would have gone. Or, you know, I had to rely on contributions and things to keep it all working, and at the moment it is working. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.